They are absolutely, irrefutably dead wrong. Holding on to a machine that physically destroys you is pure, unyielding stubbornness. Downsizing is the ultimate tactical decision to extend your riding career by 20 glorious years. Today, we expose the 7 undeniable signs you must switch to a lighter motorcycle. Number 1 reveals the tragic realization that completely murders your passion for two wheels. Let us begin this journey. Number 7, the brutal garage. Pushback workout. We kick things off before the ignition key even turns. Before you hear the exhaust rumble, a massive, immovable physical barrier stands between you and the open highway. For decades, extracting your motorcycle from the garage was a mindless, easy afterthought. You grabbed the bars, gave a quick, powerful backward heave, and chased the horizon. Those days are permanently gone. You walk into the garage on a flawless, sun-drenched Sunday morning. You stare at the machine. You do not feel excitement. You feel overwhelming dread. You grab the cold, unforgiving steel handlebars of your massive touring rig. You plant your heavy leather boots on the smooth concrete. You grit your teeth. You push with the raw, desperate intensity of an Olympic powerlifter just to drag the front tire over the half-inch lip of your garage floor. The friction of the massive touring tires fights you. Gravity fights you. Your own body fights you. The sheer top-heavy nature of a fully fueled bagger makes every inch a brutal battle of wills. By the time the motorcycle points toward the street, you are sweating profusely inside your jacket. You breathe like you just sprinted a marathon. Your lumbar spine screams in absolute, unrelenting agony. You must sit completely still on the leather saddle for 5 minutes. You wait for your heart rate to drop. You wait for the sharp pain to subside before you can even strap your helmet on. You are exhausted, and you have traveled exactly 0 miles. There is zero shame here. This is pure, inescapable, biological reality. Moving 900 pounds of dead weight by hand requires explosive power from your fast-twitch muscle fibers. Your entire core must lock solid to protect your fragile spinal cord. Your arms and legs act as hydraulic rams. As the human body ages, those specific fast-twitch fibers are the absolute first things to degrade. Your central nervous system actively fights the movement. Your brain begs your muscles to stop fighting the ridiculous, unnecessary mass. You ignore the biological warnings out of pure, stubborn pride. You refuse to admit the machine is too heavy. You tell yourself you just need to hit the gym more often. You are lying to yourself. The consequences of ignoring this physical red flag are depressing. The motorcycle simply rots on the kickstand. You wake up on a flawless, 75-degree morning. You look at the massive chrome behemoth. You decide the severe physical punishment of moving the machine is simply not worth the ride. You rationalize the decision. You tell yourself the roads are too crowded today. You tell your spouse you have chores to finish. You attach the battery tender. You throw the heavy dust cover over the windshield. You walk back inside the house. You become a former rider. You quit the lifestyle entirely because the physical entry fee to your own driveway became too high. You let your ego dictate your garage. You sacrifice your freedom because you refuse to buy a motorcycle you can actually push. You trap yourself in a prison of your own making, completely surrendering your passion to a piece of heavy metal. The garage defeats you before you even start the engine. But the severe physical assault waiting at sign number 6 turns the open interstate into a literal fighting cage. Number 6, wind buffeting feels like a UFC fight. You drop $30,000 on a towering adventure machine or a massive American bagger specifically to conquer cross-country trips. The glossy dealership brochure promised a luxurious, aerodynamic couch on wheels. The salesman promised effortless miles. The reality is a brutal, agonizing test of physical endurance that leaves you broken. You wake up on a Monday morning after a 3-hour Sunday highway ride, and your body is completely destroyed. Your cervical spine is incredibly stiff. Your trap muscles burn with lactic acid. Your shoulders feel like they absorbed repeated blows from a blunt instrument. Your wrists throb. Your hands tingle with relentless numbness. You feel like you survived 3 rounds with a professional mixed martial artist. You did not cruise down the interstate. You fought a violent war against aerodynamics, and you lost. Heavy motorcycles equipped with massive batwing fairings, tall windscreens, and oversized hard luggage catch crosswinds like a literal sailboat. When a 30-mile-per-hour gust strikes the massive side profile of your touring bike, the immense aerodynamic pressure forces the machine to drift across the asphalt. The blast from a passing semi-truck threatens to push you into the next lane. To keep the front wheel tracking straight, you must apply constant, heavy counter-steering pressure to the grips. Your upper body locks into a state of continuous isometric tension. You fight the turbulent wind and the sheer, stubborn mass of the motorcycle for hours on end. Older joints and muscles lack the elasticity to magically recover from the sustained, brutal tension. The micro vibrations transfer directly through the heavy steel frame, travel up the massive front forks, and shatter against your skeletal structure. Your core works overtime just to keep your torso upright against the invisible wall of wind. Your neck strains against the turbulence hitting your helmet. You grip the bars with white knuckles, completely draining your physical reserves. Ignoring this physical beating leads to permanent bodily damage. You develop chronic rotator cuff tendonitis. The heavy steering inputs trigger severe arthritis in your hands and elbows. Your lower back compresses under the relentless vertical impacts. You end up sitting in a physical therapist's office, paying massive medical bills. Your riding season ends prematurely. Riding a motorcycle should never require swallowing a handful of anti-inflammatory pills the next morning. You are voluntarily subjecting yourself to a medieval torture rack because you refuse to downsize to a machine that cuts through the wind instead of fighting it. The highway beats you mercilessly. However, the crushing social isolation waiting at sign number 5 will destroy your entire riding community. Before we expose the exact cowardly excuse you use to avoid your best friends, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm you value raw, unvarnished mechanical truth. Number 5. Inventing excuses to avoid group rides. Motorcycling is a lifelong brotherhood. You rode with the exact same group of guys for 15 years. You shared thousands of miles, hundreds of roadside diners, and countless stories. You built your entire social identity around this pack. But lately, when the group chat lights up with plans for a massive Saturday canyon ride, you turn into an absolute ghost. You stare at your phone screen. You look at the 900-pound behemoth occupying your garage. You feel a massive wave of dread wash over you. You start inventing phantom illnesses. You type out a message claiming your lower back is acting up again. You claim you have mandatory yard work. You blame a family obligation. You tell the pack to ride on without you. You lie to the men you trust with your life. You do not avoid your riding buddies because you hate them. You avoid them because you are exhausted by the sheer anxiety of keeping up appearances. You know the pack leader loves pulling into terrible, unpaved, off-camber gravel turnouts for group photos. You know they carve through tight, twisty mountain passes where you must physically wrestle your heavy machine through every single apex. You know they execute seamless, tight U-turns on narrow country roads. You are terrified of being the guy who holds up the group. You dread dropping your massive bike at a crowded gas station while everyone watches. The social pressure of hiding your physical struggle weighs heavier than the motorcycle itself. You pretend everything is fine while silently suffering inside your helmet. You fake a smile when you pull off your gloves, hiding the fact that your hands are cramping. You pretend you are enjoying the pace while secretly praying for the next rest stop. You expend massive amounts of emotional energy maintaining the facade of the rugged, unbreakable biker. Ignoring this, anxiety leads to absolute isolation. You stop attending the rides entirely. Your battery goes dead on the tender. You tell your friends you are taking a brief break this season. Months turn into years. You allow a ridiculous piece of heavy metal to sever your connection with your best friends. You sacrifice your brotherhood to protect your fragile ego. You sit alone on a Saturday afternoon, scrolling through photos of your friends riding the routes you used to dominate. You exile yourself from your own community because you refuse to buy a motorcycle you can confidently ride in a pack. Group rides become a massive psychological burden. But the pure, unadulterated panic waiting at sign number 4 happens at exactly 0 miles per hour. Number 4, the stoplight balance panic attack. You ride down a beautiful country road. The engine hums perfectly. The weather is flawless. You feel completely in the zone. Then you spot a red light approaching at a major multi-lane intersection. The road features a heavy crown in the center to shed rainwater, causing the pavement to drop away sharply toward the gravel shoulder. Your heart rate spikes just because you must come to a complete stop. You frantically calculate exactly which foot to plant on the asphalt. You stare at the ground, desperately searching for oil slicks, wet leaves, or slick painted crosswalk lines. You slide your pelvis completely off the saddle like an Olympic gymnast, preparing to catch the massive, top-heavy weight of your machine on an unpredictable sloping surface. You sit there baking in the summer heat. The massive engine block radiates 500 degrees of raw heat directly into your inner thighs. Sweat pours down your spine. You hold the heavy hydraulic clutch lever. Your forearm cramps. The minivan behind you creeps forward, stopping mere inches from your rear fender. You feel completely boxed in. You cannot relax a single muscle. You are essentially performing a heavy isometric squat on a slanted surface while wearing heavy leather gear. This is not freedom. This is a brutal endurance test disguised as a hobby. When the light finally turns green, you breathe a massive sigh of relief. You do not celebrate the acceleration. You celebrate surviving the stop without publicly dropping the motorcycle. The margin for error on a heavyweight motorcycle is razor thin. If a towering adventure bike or a massive American cruiser tips past 15 degrees off center, your aging knee joint cannot act as a hydraulic press to stop it. The cartilage, tendons, and ligaments in your knee were never designed to arrest 900 pounds of lateral momentum. You rely entirely on absolute perfect balance. When the road surface takes that balance away via a hidden pothole or a steep crown, you feel completely helpless. The motorcycle dictates the outcome. You are at the absolute mercy of gravity. Every single time you stop, you play a game of physical Russian roulette. Ignoring this deep-seated dread guarantees a pavement nap. It is a mathematical certainty. You pull up to a busy stop sign, you put your heavy leather boot down on a patch of loose sand. Your foot slips exactly 1 inch. The center of gravity shifts. The bike goes down in excruciating slow motion right in the middle of traffic. You cannot stop it. You step away and watch your beautiful, expensive machine smash into the asphalt. The sickening sound of snapping plastic and grinding metal echoes through the intersection. The physical pain of the drop means absolutely nothing. You do not care about the scraped chrome or the shattered mirror. The crushing humiliation of needing 3 teenagers from a passing minivan to help you lift your own motorcycle shatters your pride permanently. You stand in the intersection, blocking traffic, feeling completely powerless. You frantically wave your hands, begging strangers to help you upright your own purchase. You finally heave it up. You bend the broken shift lever back into place. You ride home in complete silence, deeply ashamed of your inability to handle the machine. You park it in the garage. You turn the lights off. You hide the scratches. The stoplight fills you with overwhelming dread. But the sheer terror waiting at sign number 3 will haunt your deepest nightmares. Number 3, the almost drop adrenaline dump. This specific, terrifying event wakes stubborn riders up to reality. It happens in a split second. It changes your entire perspective on riding. It strips away the illusion of control. It proves definitively that the motorcycle is the undisputed master. You pull into your own driveway after a long ride. You navigate a tight, low-speed U-turn on a narrow residential street. You turn your head to check for oncoming traffic. You apply slight pressure to the front brake. The handlebars tuck slightly. The front wheel bites hard into the pavement. The massive motorcycle leans a fraction of an inch past the point of no return. Time literally slows down. You watch the asphalt rushing up to meet your expensive chrome. You panic. Survival instinct takes over. You slam your boot into the pavement. You lock your leg completely straight. You heave upward with every single ounce of explosive strength you possess in your entire body. Your back arches, your arms strain. By some absolute miracle of physics, the bike stops falling. It hovers on the brink of disaster, then slowly rebounds upright. You hear your own tendons popping. You feel a massive agonizing tear in your lower lumbar region. You save the bike, but your heart pounds against your ribs like a jackhammer. Your hands shake so violently you can barely operate the clutch lever. You pull over to the shoulder immediately. You shut the engine off. You sit paralyzed on the side of the road for 20 minutes while the massive, terrifying adrenaline dump flushes out of your bloodstream. You breathe heavily. You stare at your trembling hands. You look around frantically to see if your neighbors witnessed your near-death experience. You realize how incredibly close you came to total disaster. This terrifies you because you know the dark truth. You know if the bike leaned half an inch further, you fail. You know if your boot slipped on the asphalt, you go down hard. You suddenly realize you no longer possess the physical strength to truly command the machine. You no longer pilot the motorcycle. The motorcycle simply allows you to be a passenger until it decides to crush your leg. You are riding on borrowed time. You wake up the next morning and your lower back is locked solid. You cannot bend over to tie your shoes. You pulled a massive muscle group, simply fighting the inevitable laws of physics. You swallow 3 ibuprofen and spend the entire Sunday lying flat on the living room floor with a heating pad. You sacrificed your physical health to protect a piece of painted metal. Ignoring this massive warning guarantees a trip to the emergency room. The next time the bike tips, you fail to save. The motorcycle falls, pinning your ankle against a 400-degree exhaust pipe or clearly snapping your tibia. That adrenaline dump was your body screaming at you to downsize before your luck completely runs out. You received a final warning. Ignoring it is an act of pure foolishness. You are daring gravity to a rematch, and gravity possesses an undefeated record. The adrenaline dump terrifies you. However, the ridiculous logistical gymnastics at sign number 2 dictate your entire waking life. We approach the ultimate tragic realization. Subscribe to the channel right now so you never miss our mechanical truths. Number 2, the tactical parking lot paranoia. You pull into a roadside diner to meet your riding buddies for a casual lunch. Instead of searching for the closest spot to the front door, your eyes scan the pavement like a tactical sniper looking for hidden landmines. Is the lot covered in loose gravel? Is there a slight downhill grade? Is the surface off camber? Are there deep ruts in the asphalt? Are there slick spots of accumulated motor oil near the entrance? You realize you actively plan your entire day around parking logistics. You calculate your exit strategy 5 moves in advance. Every single parking lot transforms into a hostile tactical grid. You evaluate the entry vector, the apex of the turn, and the final resting angle of the kickstand. If you pull nose first into a parking spot facing a 2% downhill incline, you know with absolute certainty you lack the physical leverage to paddle an 800-pound bagger backward up that hill. You circle the parking lot 4 times. You completely ignore wide open spots near the entrance. You ultimately park 3 zip codes away across the street just to secure a perfectly flat paved, level concrete surface. You walk half a mile in heavy leather gear in the blistering heat just to eat a sandwich. Pushing a heavy motorcycle backward requires immense explosive power from your quadriceps and glutes. It requires extreme traction from the soles of your boots. It demands perfect biomechanical leverage. You rely on the meniscus in your knee to act as a load-bearing shock absorber while your femur and tibia grind together under the stress of an 800-pound machine. As we age, the synovial fluid lubricating those joints dries up. The cartilage degrades. You retain the cardiovascular endurance to ride for 6 hours, but you completely lose the explosive, fast-twitch muscle burst required to reverse a heavy load up an incline. You dress like a rugged, road-hardened biker, but you fear a slight slope in a fast food parking lot. You constantly worry about the exit strategy before you even turn the engine off. Think about the humiliation of miscalculating the terrain. You watch your riding buddies pull effortlessly into a dirt lot. If they drop their kickstands and walk inside, you are still circling the block, looking for a concrete slab. You arrive at the table 10 minutes late, sweating, making excuses about catching a red light. Or worse, you pull into a spot. You drop the kickstand, you walk away. An hour later, you return. You realize too late that the front tire rests in a slight depression. You throw your leg over the saddle. You grab the thick handlebars. You push backward with everything you possess. Your neck veins bulge. Your spine compresses. You attempt to use the front brake while paddling backward. The suspension dives. The weight shifts forward. You fight the momentum. You drag your boots across the asphalt, desperately seeking friction. You burn massive amounts of energy for 0 forward progress. The bike moves half an inch and rolls right back into the rut. Your boots slip on a patch of loose sand. You sit there, trapped by gravity. You pull your phone out and pretend to check your messages, secretly praying the parking lot empties so nobody watches you struggle. You wait 10 minutes. You wipe the sweat from your forehead. Ultimately, you swallow your pride and ask a stranger walking to a minivan for a push. Your ego shatters into 1,000 pieces right there on the pavement. You thank the stranger, but inside your helmet, you feel utterly defeated. Ignoring this paranoia shrinks your world to the size of a postage stamp. You avoid trying new coffee shops. You skip beautiful scenic overlooks because the pullout looks unpaved. You bypass historic downtown main streets with angled street parking. You fear getting physically trapped in a slanted parking spot. You stop exploring the world. You surrender your absolute freedom to the ridiculous weight of your machine. You ride the exact same predictable, flat, boring loop every single Sunday because you know the parking lots are safe. You sacrifice the adventure just to guarantee a flat exit. You memorize the safe zones and refuse to deviate from the route. The motorcycle no longer represents exploration, it represents a logistical trap. Parking paranoia ruins the destination. But the final sign at number 1 is the absolute most tragic realization of all. Number 1, the ride simply isn't fun anymore. This is the ultimate heartbreaking tragedy of the aging, stubborn rider. You loved motorcycles your entire life. They provided your ultimate escape. They represented pure freedom, adrenaline, and joy. They defined your weekends and your identity. You walk out to the garage on a Saturday morning. You look at your beautiful, expensive, massive touring machine. You feel absolutely nothing but a sense of heavy obligation. The thrill is completely dead. You realize the entire ride became a massive, stressful chore. The physical toll begins before the engine fires. The ritual of gearing up no longer feels like preparing for an adventure. It feels like putting on armor for a battle you do not want to fight. Pushing the bike out of the garage exhausts you. Managing the terrifying weight at stoplights drains your central nervous system. Fighting the crosswinds beats your shoulders into submission. Praying you avoid dropping it in a parking lot consumes your thoughts. You work a second job and you receive no paycheck. The motorcycle owns you. You serve the machine. You remember what it felt like 30 years ago. You remember throwing a leg over a stripped-down lightweight machine. You remember flicking it into corners with zero effort. The bike was an extension of your body. Now the bike is a hostile opponent. You must wrestle into submission. You are engaged in a wrestling match with 800 pounds of steel, and the steel is winning. The psychological burden of managing a machine too heavy for your body completely eclipses the joy of the ride. Riding a motorcycle requires absolute flow. It demands a seamless connection between rider and asphalt. It requires your mind to process the road ahead without conscious effort. But when you fear the mass of the bike, that flow shatters instantly. Your brain expends immense processing power worrying about gravity, balance, and parking logistics. You enter a chronic state of low-grade fight or flight. Cortisol floods your system. You lack the mental bandwidth to enjoy the scenery. Your peripheral vision narrows. You fixate entirely on the patch of pavement directly in front of your front tire. The beautiful mountain ranges pass by completely unnoticed. The crisp morning air means nothing. You endure the elements rather than embracing them. You ignore the beautiful exhaust note. You forget the freedom of the open road. You grip the bars with white knuckles, trapped in a state of constant, unrelenting anxiety. Every ride feels like a survival mission instead of a vacation. You find yourself staring at the digital clock on the dashboard during the ride, calculating exactly how many miles remain until you can safely park it back in the garage. You do not ride to feel alive anymore. You ride to prove a point to yourself. You ride because you spent $30,000 on a piece of heavy iron and you refuse to admit you made a physical miscalculation. You suffer through the miles strictly out of pure, unadulterated stubbornness. You return home utterly exhausted, lock the garage door, and collapse into a chair. You survived. You did not thrive. Ignoring this catastrophic loss of joy guarantees the final step. You do exactly what thousands of stubborn senior riders do every single year. You walk it into the garage on a Tuesday evening. You take a few photos of the chrome. You open your laptop. You write a sterile advertisement. You place a for sale sign on the windshield. A week later, a stranger hands you a stack of cash. You hand over the keys. You stand in your driveway and watch the taillights fade down the street. The exhaust note disappears into the distance. The motorcycle takes your identity with it. You sit on your couch for the rest of your life, telling people at parties you used to ride. You abandon the sport entirely because you refused to adapt to the reality of human anatomy. You chose surrender over strategy. You let your ego dictate your destiny. You do not have to quit. You just have to change your weapon. Drop a comment below telling us the exact moment you realize your motorcycle became too heavy. We read every single one. Click the video on your screen to see the definitive list of lightweight machines that will save your riding career. Subscribe to the channel right now. We will see you on the road. How to choose the right lighter motorcycle. Downsizing is not a penalty. It is a massive upgrade. It is the smartest, most empowering decision you will ever make as a veteran rider. Shedding 200 pounds of unnecessary metal changes everything. The parking lot anxiety completely vanishes. You flat-foot the bike at stoplights. You look forward to twisty roads again. The bike flicks into corners effortlessly. You reclaim your absolute joy. You become a rider again. Choosing your lighter machine requires focusing on two critical metrics: wet weight and seat height. You demand a motorcycle weighing under 450 pounds wet. You require a seat height low enough to plant both feet firmly on the pavement with a deep bend in your knees. You need a low center of gravity so the bike carries its own weight. Here are 4 phenomenal machines guaranteed to give your riding life back. If you want a brilliant, featherweight cruiser with massive highway, passing power, and a ridiculously low seat height, buy the Honda Rebel 500. You sit in the bike, not on it. The center of gravity scrapes the pavement. Dropping it requires deliberate effort. If you prefer the laid-back ergonomics of a cruiser, but demand customized handlebar and foot peg, reach to save your aging lower back, buy the Kawasaki Vulcan S. It represents an absolute masterpiece of adjustable engineering. You tailor the entire motorcycle to your exact skeletal structure. If you miss the vintage, nostalgic British styling of your youth, but demand a featherweight machine handling beautifully in urban traffic, buy the Triumph Speed 400. It delivers premium heritage components in a screaming single-cylinder engine at under 400 pounds. If you demand European refinement, plush suspension, and completely neutral upright seating to protect your spine, buy the BMW G 310R. It provides phenomenally balanced geometry and weighs absolutely nothing. Downsizing is the rebirth of your riding career. Shed the heavy iron. Silence your ego. Buy yourself another 20 years of motorcycling joy. Stop letting pride dictate your garage. Continue the ride and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. See you on the road, vroom vroom.